Hello, hello. All right. So today, or like this week's topic, I wanted to do adult friendships because we're coming around to Thanksgiving and everything like that. So there's a lot of Friendsgivings going on. Personally, I love a good Friendsgiving. So for my Friendsgiving, I'm doing my four best girlfriends, and I want everyone to like meet officially, and I think it's gonna be so fun. But I want it to be like a small, intimate, but like cute kind of setting, you know? I could invite 1.5 billion people. But it's like, would they all show up? Kind of thing, you know? And so it's like, to me, it's very important to have friends who are going to continuously show up. So we're going to go ahead and talk about friendship. We're not going to bash anybody. So, I'll talk about my friends that I absolutely love, how I've been a bad friend and everything before as well. And just kind of different things like that. Like mistakes that I've learned from, or mistakes that I haven't learned from, or that I know the lesson. I'm just really stubborn because I am kind of a stubborn person. So also, okay, so I just learned about an app that I can go ahead and like record a podcast on or something like that. So I was like, so we'll see if these even get uploaded to like a podcast site kind of thing. I don't know. I think it'd be cool. This is gonna kind of be like my like official and unofficial background for a while. Probably for like the rest of the time, because I like having my desk clean and it just feels good. Anyway, for me, I always have like a set standards for people, right? And if you don't meet those standards, like you're not really gonna be in my life. Like you can to an extent, like I'm not gonna want to keep you around kind of a thing. And that sounds bad, but also like you need to understand your own boundaries. And if you don't understand your own boundaries, how are you gonna expect other people to respect your boundaries? Or whenever you decide like all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, like I need to start setting these boundaries, and you don't put them in place, how are you gonna expect other people to want, not even like to want to follow them, but to just follow them in general? You know what I mean? For me, one of the things that I think is very, very extremely important, you want to have friends that you can, how do I say this? Whenever you're together or y'all are together, you just want to go ahead and make sure that like they are, basically it's like kind of like what you look for like in a romantic partner almost, but like in friendship. Does that make any sense? Like you want somebody who's going to be lifting you up, someone who's constantly encouraging you, someone who's going to be there for you like no matter what. And just as a friend, girl or guy. Because if you have a friend where it's like, like, oh my gosh, like, hey, I just got like this really big promotion, or oh my gosh, hey, like, something good goes on in your life, and they're not there to encourage you, and they're not there to be like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. Or if you fall on hard times, and then they're just like, I don't really want to talk to you or whatever anymore. Was that ever really your friend? I feel like there are also very big, like, key factors and a lot of things that you can usually tell. Like for me, I have like strange red flags that, it's like if I see somebody do this, or like if somebody like does something that like to me, I'm like, you know what? We're actually good. Let's just say you go to a restaurant or something, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, like I want to eat, let's go out, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh my gosh, okay, perfect, sounds good. And y'all are eating and like they invited you out. So like for me, if I invite my friends out, I'll pay for it because I'm the one who invited you out. But if they invite me out and then they're like, oh, let's split the bill, then I'm like, okay, that's totally fine too. If they invite me out and then want me to pay for the whole thing, I'm like, I probably will not be seeing you again because you're not never, but like you were not upfront and clear with your intentions. That's kind of just disrespectful and everything as well. Like you didn't ask, like it's like, if I didn't have the money to go out, of course I'm going to be saying no. But at the same time, if you know that I don't have the money to go out, please do not ask me out, because that is very stressful to me, because I love saying yes and I love spending time with people. So it'll be like small things like that or whatever, right? Or, of course, the general, like rude to the waiter kind of thing. It's like, I think most people will learn, it's like, okay, let's not be rude to the waiter because, people don't like that. But it's like other small things like what I had just said, where you're like, okay, that's a red flag, which probably not, So there's small things like that I'll look out for in relationships. And whenever I say relationships, I mean like friendships and everything as well. And friendships that could turn into relationships, but for now, I just want friendship. You know what I mean? Whatever you're looking for friends, I think, and this could just be like a little bit of my like type A or whatever, but like I think that it's always important to have like your not checklist, but your standards, it's like, okay, like if they do these things and stuff, it'll help, or it'll be more of the person that I'm looking for to encourage me and, be by my side, rather than like, okay, I don't I mean, like, they're fun to hang out with, so I think it'll be fine. Like, I'll get to know things later on. And of course you'll get to know things later on in your friendship, but you also want to be sure that, you know, it's like for me, if somebody came up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I really like you, let's be friends. This sounds kind of mean, but like, I'm never like, oh my gosh, yeah. You know, I'm like, let's stay back for some. You know, like, I'm very extroverted and I love talking to people and I love people in general, but I feel like there's some steps that we have to, you know, like X, Y, Z before we get to A again. Obviously, there are things that you have to do to, you know, like become, you know, from like friends to best friends and different things like that. And for me, like, the people that I let in my life, I love them so much. And these are people that I intend to keep into my life. You know what I mean? And it's not people like, oh, well, like, they'll be here for like a season and then they'll leave. The thing is, like, yeah, some people will be in your life for just a season, but you don't ever want to go into a friendship or into any type of relationship thinking that in advance. You know, like, if they end up leaving in your life, that's okay. And another thing that I've had to learn is letting go is okay. Because it sucks sometimes to let go. It really, really does. Sometimes you just like, I want to run miles and miles and miles and just go crazy rather than have this person leave my life. But sometimes them leaving is the best possible situation that could happen, which is so unfortunate. But yeah, like, it sucks sometimes. It really does. But you also have to learn to let people leave. That, let me tell y'all, is a really hard lesson. So we'll cover that actually really quick, and then we can hop onto, you know, it's like ways that friends have, you know, like, where it's just like, you know what, like, I decide, like, I'm absolutely keeping you in my life versus whenever I'm like, I think it's time for me to go. So start covering, you know, like, whenever it's time for to let go of somebody. First of all, I hate it. I hate it so much. I never want anybody that I let into my life to leave. And it hurts so bad. But sometimes I'm like, you know what? For my own sake and for the sake of others around me as well, you are not helping me be a better person. Anytime I'm around you, I feel bad, either about myself or just bad in general. You know, like, you also have to figure out what type of energy you want around you as well. For me, I think for most people, really, I want uplifting, I want positive, I just want people who want to live. I just want people who want to go out and just have adventures and just have the best time ever. That's what I want in my life. That's not what everybody wants. Some people just want people that are, you know, very inside, very introverted, and like to read books all day. And to be honest, that sounds really cool and really, really fun. Like, that was definitely me at a point in life, maybe, but now I'm different and I grow. Not everybody's gonna want the same type of friends as me, and that is a good thing. I'm gonna be honest. Like, if everybody had the exact same, you know, and then there would be people that just have no friends, you know, like, that would be so sad. But because we're all different, because we all have different types of friends, everyone can find their circle eventually if you just look hard enough, kind of thing. Letting go of friends, though, that, let me tell y'all, can be really hard and really, really difficult. So I've had to let go of one friend twice now. And that's because I didn't realize that I was in love with him, and I was like, fuck. The thing is, because I was in love with him and didn't realize it, I was letting him treat me however, and I was like, it's okay, it'll be fine. Things will work out. If people treat you rude or wrong the first time around, for me, I am very much a zero tolerance kind of person. They treat you wrong the first time around, you're not getting a second chance. Let's just put an example out there. Say, you know, like, I invite you out and I'm like, okay, like, you know, like, let's go hang out with a bunch of my friends, you know, blah, blah, blah. It'll be like a really fun time and everything. And, you know, so like you and I go to some party or whatever, right? Or like we go out to a dinner or something like that. And I decide, you know, like, okay, you're going to be here, but I'm actually just not going to talk to you the entire time. So like the whole time that you're here with this entire group of strangers, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to go talk to everybody else but you. And like, I'll drive you back at the end of the night because I brought you here. But if you could also find a ride back on your own, that would be super great. If I'm doing that to you, trust that I don't like you. And I would, first of all, I would never do that to somebody. If I don't like somebody, I'm not inviting them out, period. Point blank. I'm not inviting you out. But I would never also be that type of person to be like, okay, now we're done. Now we're good. You can just get the fuck out of here. No, why would I do that? Like, that is kind of a really horrible person move. If anybody ever treats you like that, or doesn't do like that exactly, but you know, like does stuff along that lines where you're like, hey, like this is actually something that like I have boundaries or standards on and you're not respecting any of it, just leave the friendship. And it sucks and it's hard. So it's easier in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, because like for me, at least like in like romantic relationships and stuff like that, I'm able to, you know, kind of see things very fast in the beginning, you know, where I'm like, okay, you do this, this, and this, which means that in the future, these things are already so ingrained in you because now you're a grown-ass man, that these things are already so ingrained in you that if you don't decide to change them on your own, they're not going to change. I'm not about to sit here and fix you. It's kind of something that you have to decide, is this the type of person that I can live with in my life? You know what I mean? Like, are these behaviors something that I will choose to encourage and tolerate and continue throughout my life? And if they are, and they are good things, continue them. If they are bad things and you choose to have them in your life, just know that you're choosing to have them in your life. And the people that you choose also to have in your life, you can get rid of at different points. And this sounds really bad, but like sometimes you just need to do a detox. You want to imagine the person that you want to become, right? And so like for me, let's say like I want to become like an art collector. What I want is not a group of friends that, you know, just goes out and parties every single weekend and that's all they do. What I would want is a group of friends that is like, hey, you know, like we're actually gonna go to a museum, or hey, like there's this or whatever going on, and like that would be so cool if you joined. That's the type of group of friends I would want. So now I need to go ahead and align myself with those type of people, put myself into those groups, into those situations. And it doesn't mean let go of everybody who's not like that. You can still have those friends in your life. But if you want to go ahead and develop yourself into the person that you want to be, you also have to make room for other people, which doesn't mean there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 slots and somebody's got to leave. Sometimes it means there's can be 1, 2, 3, 4, and now there's 5. Does that make sense? You don't have to cut people out of your life. You also need to realize when you do need to cut people out of your life. But it doesn't mean because you're like all of a sudden growing and changing that you have to cut everybody out. With the amount of times that I've like grown and changed or whatever, you know, like it would be, I would have literally like no friends. I would just have no friends because I feel like I'm continuously like, you know, like, okay, well now I'm interested in this. Well, now I'm interested in this. And so I have friends all across the spectrum of, you know, multiple kind of things. And I think that it's really cool and really good to have friends in different areas. But I'm not about, hold on, I'm going to take off my socks real quick. But I'm not about to sit here and, you know, judge another person for doing or not doing things and being like, I can't associate with you anymore. Yeah, I know that I did the exact same thing, but now you're kind of trashy for it. Are you kidding me? You need to learn when to let go. And for me, one thing that I did is like, so I had actually, you could probably go back on my YouTube and you'll see, maybe not, I don't know. But it was like a few, probably like 3 years ago now, where I had 2 friends that just stopped talking to me. It was around the time that 2 of my other friends had killed themselves. And I was going through a real rough patch. And all I wanted was to talk to my 2 best friends, or not my 2 best friends. So one was my best friend. Another was a guy that I was talking to from college, and he was really cool. But I was like, honestly, considering moving out to California with him, like, that's another story if we ever want to hear that. But yeah, so they were like the 2 like closest people in my life at the time. And so then whenever my friends killed themselves, I was like, I want to reach out to you so badly, but I can't, because you stopped talking to me and I'm not about to sit here and embarrass myself and put myself into that situation for you to just reject me again. Like that would hurt so bad. And I knew that going kind of like into everything. So I was like, I'm going to give myself 18 months. And I did. I gave myself 18 months without reaching out to them first and with just working on myself. And I ended up like doing really, really well. You can always grow and you can always learn and everything from those situations, but you need to learn when to let go and when to just stop talking to them sometimes, which really sucks and it's really hard sometimes. I do think though that whenever you start developing friends and you start developing your friendships, not only do you want to have those people around you that are going to like lift you up and support you and want better for you, but you also have to be that person for them. Because if I'm going to sit here and be like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so glad that you're able to do this or that or blah, 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 or like, I'm so glad you're in a healthy relationship or blah, 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 whatever, right? If I end up telling you the same thing, like, you know, like, oh my gosh, like, I actually just got in a relationship with so-and-so, or I just got a promotion at this company, or blah, 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 and you're like, okay. Or like, okay, and on to me, or something like that. Why would I want you in my life? You know, like, why would I keep that around me? So you want to think, you know, like, at these standards that, you know, like, these people have, you also have to be that standard for the other person. Does that make any sense? You can't go to, okay, you can, but you shouldn't go to an orchestra party and have everyone dressed in, you know, like, in gowns, like floor length or whatever, you know, hair's all done and everything, and you show up in like sweatpants and a button up, and you're like, look, this is my best, I'm putting my best forward. You're gonna get kicked out of that party. If I'm throwing it, you're getting kicked out of that party. Are you kidding me right now? So you want to be sure that you do put your best foot forward and that you do put this effort that you expect others to give back to you. Whenever it comes to being a good friend, there, you know, you gotta give and you gotta receive. So actually, there's actually a little chart of communication. And I remember this from like high school speech class. So there's this person and there's this person, right? And I hope y'all can see it with me here. I hope y'all also remember this chart. Anyway, so there's this person and all of their thoughts and experiences in life. And then there's this person and they have all their thoughts and experiences in life. So whenever they communicate and they use different, you know, terminology or words or even the same language, but you know, whatever. It's now like through this person, they got to communicate and translate through all of their life experiences, and over here as well, same thing, all the life experiences. So whenever you communicate with another person, okay, let's say, you know, like this person says, hey, on Wednesday, I'm going to an art museum. And then this is me. And so I'm like, okay, and all my thoughts and experiences and everything like that. For me, if I'm not invited somewhere, I'm not going. So I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's so fun. Have fun at the art museum. Because you didn't invite me explicitly. And so to them, that could mean, you know, like, okay, like I just invited them and are they rejecting it or whatever, you know? And for me, I'm like, okay, they just let me know about their plans for Wednesday. Like, that's cool. That's whatever, right? So now we have a lack in communication. So communication is something that is so important, not just like friendships, but every single relationship you'll ever have. Your boss, your friends, your parents, your siblings, your coworkers, everybody. What we have to like, I guess like learn and sift through is being super, super clear, because now it can turn from, you know, like a friendship of like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like we go out all the time, blah, 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 to like, oh, they just kind of let me know about their plans and like, it's whatever, but you know, like, I'm not too offended. And then it's like, okay, like that's weird. You're just telling me about your plans and like, I'm not invited to them. And all my friends know, like, if I'm not invited somewhere, I'm not going. If you want me to, you know, show up to a party, whatever that you have, you know, you could be like, hey, like, actually, one of my friends did this for, like, the Halloween party. He was like, hey, like, we decided to go ahead and throw a party, whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Like, I was just talking to so-and-so because I was wondering also what they're doing that night. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, you're invited to come. And I was like, okay, cool. You know, because if not, then it would have been like, hey, we're throwing a party. And I'm like, that's so funny. I just asked so-and-so what they're doing. And if they said, ha, yeah, or something like that, then I would have been like, all right, well, I'm not invited. They just wanted me to know that they're throwing a party. And it's whatever. But to the other person, it could be, you know, like, hey, like, I invited her to the party. She's not here, kind of thing, you know? So also to go ahead and make sure that your communication standards are clear with one another. So yeah, but if your communication isn't clear, it's not that you're being a bad friend or anything like that. Sometimes you just need to have a communication, or you just need to talk about your communication skills. I feel like at this point in life, like for the most part, like all my friends are very good at communicating. We're like in our mid-20s and we have our expectations. We know what we want and we know what we don't want. That's a really good example of, you know, like my friend with the Halloween party and everything, and communication like that. Another example, okay, so this one is a bad example, and this is of me having a Galentine's, right? Like a couple years ago or whatever. And so I had invited, so whenever I throw like little like dinner parties and stuff like that, I invite just like a select group. So I had invited just like a select group, and I was like, I just told everybody like, hey, like, you know, like I'm having this party, blah, 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 you're invited. But I had forgotten to tell this one person because they were out of town. And so like, I was just like going through my list. Okay, like, you know, like this person lives here. And so like for me, whenever I go through the list, I just kind of go through, okay, like this person lives here, and then we'll go ahead and go in a circle and then how everybody lives, and then we're good to go. Right. But this person lived out of town, and they were coming in for Valentine's regardless, but where they lived didn't like register in my mind because they didn't live in the area. That's on me. And I forgot to invite them until it was like a day or two before. And I was like, fuck, dude, I feel so bad. So I was like, now it seems like a very last minute invitation. Like they weren't deliberately invited. And like for me, like if I'm not deliberately invited, or like if I get an invitation, this is mainly with dating. If I get an invitation to go out last minute, I'm saying no. I'm saying no because it seems like it was just, I was not a forethought in your mind. I was basically, you know, like on the back burner. I was like, oh shit, like, you know, like, why don't I see if Alyssa wants to come? And as cool and as fun as that is, I will be saying no. I will be declining that invitation because it wasn't like, I wasn't someone that you're like, oh my gosh, I would love to have her here ahead of time. And that's just with dating, personally. Anyway, so I had forgotten to extend this invitation until like a couple days before, and I was like, shit, dude. I was like, what do I do? So of course I extended the invitation like kind of last minute, and I was like, hey, like super last minute, but we're having a get together or whatever for Valentine's Day for like a little Galentine's at my place. So let me know if you can come. Also, let me just say, there's a difference between, you know, like, let me know if you can come, you should be here, and if you want to. So for me, okay, and this is just me, if you want to is kind of like a, like you're invited, like if you want to come, but I also do not care either way. Let me know if you can come is like, you know, like a, hey, like you're invited, but I also understand you have other things. And you're invited means that like, I want you here. I want you here, and I'm not giving you another option, you know, like not giving you another option, you know. It's like a bad communication thing on my part, I will admit, because sometimes I'm just forgetful and I feel horrible whenever I am. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I literally ruined our entire friendship because I just last minute invited them, and that's so disrespectful. To me, it's disrespectful, you know. To other people, they could be like, oh, it's whatever, you know. Really, it just depends on your outlook on it, right? That is kind of like a bad friend example. Another bad friend example is trying to get with your friend's boyfriend. And luckily, I've never had any friends that have done this. I've never done this to any of my friends, but that's because of the standards that I set, where I'm like, okay, like if you do these things, you're most likely also going to do this thing. And I have been right on people that like I do not want in my life. And then like years later, whenever I hear something, and I'm like, oh, ooh, like on purpose, you know? So there's just some things that like you need to watch out for in people. And like, you know that there'll be some habits that people keep that is just like, okay, like let's say for example, it's a birthday dinner. For me, I tend to be late to a lot of things. I have been working on it, but that doesn't mean, just because I'm working on something doesn't mean I'm actually doing, like I'm actually good now. We're good to go. No, it means like I'm working on it slowly. I might get there eventually, but I actually am working on like being on time and everything. This morning, I had a haircut appointment with my friend, and it was at 11 o'clock. Typically, I am late to things by at least 30 minutes to an hour. I was not going to be late to this because this place was an hour away. I had set like the appointment time and everything with my friend as well. So I was like, girl, like I'm not about to be like, oh my gosh, no, it's okay, you're my friend. Like, I'm sure you don't have anything else or whatever. Like, we'll be fine. That's disrespectful to the other person's time, which is why I'm trying to be better on that. But let's say you have a birthday dinner or something like that, right? And you invite all of your friends, and you know, you have that one person who is always late, and they're like, no, I'm gonna be on time, I'm gonna be on time, and they're 2 hours late to the dinner. Everyone's basically like got to-go boxes and everything at that point, and they show up, they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm so sorry that I missed it. Like I tried, I rushed and blah, 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 and the traffic and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you could have just planned better if these things mattered to you, you know? So like for me, if I don't want to be somewhere, truth be told, I'm not going to be there if I don't want to be there. You know, I will RSVP no before I tell you yes and then make up an excuse later. Or RSVP yes and then like a couple days before be like, oops, sorry, I can't. Because like, you know, if there's some things like a wedding or whatever, I want you to get a head count. Also, speaking of weddings, you don't have to go to everybody's wedding. I just want to point that out. And you don't have to feel bad about missing somebody's wedding. So I had some acquaintances that I knew, and they were like, oh my gosh, you have to come to my wedding, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so funny. The thing is, like, I'm not gonna go anywhere that I feel uncomfortable at, you know? And the thing is, like, they had known each other for 3 months and then got engaged. And I was like, y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy. Your engagement was longer than your marriage. I mean, than your, what's it called, you know? So I was like, I'm just gonna, for personal reasons, say no, you know? And like, that way they could get a good head count. And I felt a little bit bad whenever the groom reached out to me, because he's my friend, kind of. I don't know, we like talked in a group setting like a good amount of times. It was like, hey, like, I saw you RSVP'd no to our wedding. I was just wondering what's going on, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, are you gonna be out of town or this and that? And like, okay, also, truth be told, I am never really one to like cover up kind of things, or you know, if it's like, I'm like, okay, well, this is this and this is that, you know, like, that's just how I'm gonna be. So, and you know what, I have been told multiple times that I need to work on that, and that's the personal issue that I'm not working through. Anyway, so I said, oh no, I'm not gonna be busy, I'm just not going to your wedding. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm just not going to your wedding. You know, like, I don't know what the fuck you want. And like, did I feel a little bit bad? Yes. And then he was like, oh, by the way, let me text you on my other phone, because like, this is now like my business phone. And I have like a personal phone now. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so then we're texting back and forth or whatever. And he's like, you know, like, dang, that sucks. Like, you know, blah, blah, blah. He was like, cause like you and I are so close. And I was like, how long have you had this phone for? And he was like, oh, I've had it for like a few months now. And I was like, we are not so close. We are so close that I didn't know that you had a new phone for months. Because we don't text. Because we don't talk. And I don't know what the fuck wasn't clicking. But I was also like, dude, I don't know. So I'm not going to you. That does sound mean, and like, some people will probably be like, you know, like, oh, like, you should have gone because you got invited, and not everybody gets invited. But I don't have to say yes to everything. And just because I get an invitation doesn't mean that I will be there, because I can RCP no. Like, that is another option as well. And people shouldn't feel bad about telling other people no. It's your personal choice if you want to be there or if you don't want to be there. If you don't want to be there, do not show up. If you want to be there and you're invited, show up. By all means, if you're invited. If you're not invited, don't. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. And then everybody else is like, you know, like, I would rather not be invited somewhere and not show up than be invited or not be invited somewhere, show up, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, like, what is Alyssa doing here? Like, nobody, like, I thought everybody told her no, and then I get kicked out, or I don't get kicked out and I'm just talked about the entire night. That would be embarrassing. And I would not do that to myself. I just personally would not. I feel like that is just kind of like, that's more like just a rule that I have, like, of my own. Like I said, if I'm not invited, I'm not showing up. Point blank. I was just with my friend's cat. I don't know if his smell was still on me. On to the next topic of like good examples of my friends. So one of my friends, actually, all of my friends are very successful in what they do, and I love them so much, and I truly just really want the best for them. And like, you know, if there's ever anything that I can help them out with, I'm like, okay, let's do X, Y, and Z, and you know, like, hopefully this helps you, you know? And so, and obviously all my friends are like that to me as well, because the energy that you give is also what you receive, you know? So it's very yin and yang. And if the energy that you give is not what you receive, and you receive something way worse, leave. Get out immediately. Or if you realize that, you know, they're giving way more to this relationship than you are, that should make you want to strive to be a better person and want to do better and have better for not only you, but for your friends and for your community and everyone around you. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be able to give. You don't want to just be taking all of the time, because like, I don't know, like, I would just feel so selfish. I would just feel so, and also the thing is, growing up, whenever I would tell people no, because I had my boundaries, I would be called selfish. Often. By people that are very close to me. To me, I was like, okay, you can call me selfish then, but I'm not going to do this because I have my boundaries and I have my reasons. And I'm not going to do this because this is not something that I feel comfortable with. So yeah, I might be selfish, or I might be a prude, or I might be, oh, so like you're like against whatever, blah, blah, blah. If those are not my boundaries and those are not my beliefs, I am not going to participate in something that I do not want to, going out to the club. All right. And this is kind of like a very general example. Nothing against you if you do go out to the club. I mean, like, I've been to a club 4 times now, and I'm like 25. I just don't like clubs. If you invite me out to a club, I'm going to say no. I'm going to be like, well, is there anything you're doing after, anything you're doing before? And you're like, no, like, we're just planning on going to the club all night. I'm like, okay, well, let me know if you're doing something else on another night. I just really don't like clubs. I'm very extroverted, but I do not like clubs. I don't know what it is. I've just never been like a big club girl kind of person. I would rather have a cozy night in than be going out to clubs all the time, Or if, it's like, oh, hey, we're going out to do karaoke. I'd be like, absolutely, I'm there. Absolutely, I'm there. But you get a club, I'm like, nah, we're good, And it's okay to tell people no, all right? I feel like that's more of the topic right now than, like, friendship. So let's get back on friendship. For me, like, my friends know what I am or what I am not comfortable with, and things that I'm not comfortable with, they're not going to invite me out to, like clubs, or, like, hookah lounges. I don't like hookah lounges. And so, like, if they're going out, they're respecting me by not inviting me out. If I just had friends that it's like every time they went out, they were doing stuff that, like, I don't really participate in, and it's whatever, but they kept inviting me to do it, I'd be like, can you please stop? Like, that that's not really my scene, and, like, thanks for thinking of me, but also, like, girl, do you just not listen? Do you just not care? Back onto friendships. To me, a good friend is also somebody who's going to respect you and who's going to respect your boundaries. And granted, there are times where you need your boundaries and you need everything to just be pushed a little bit to get you to a better spot. If they're pushing you and it's the wrong direction and you're like, girl, I do not want to be here. I do not want to be doing this. This is like way beyond comfortable. So there's a difference between, like, it's like, okay, you have like a debate or whatever coming up and you need to go ahead and speak in it, but you don't like public speaking. And say your friends bring you over to a slam poetry thing, and they don't make you do slam poetry, but they want you to see other people who are doing public speaking. And yeah, you're uncomfortable, but now you get to see others that are in that environment and maybe feel a little bit more warmed up to the idea. That's pushing you out of your comfort zone in a good way. In a bad way would be, I love Impractical Jokers, but I'm gonna use them as an example. I think it was Murray who had lost the challenge and he had to go and participate in a bodybuilding competition. That was hilarious because, it's something that's so ridiculous that it's like, why would anybody do that other than for the point of entertainment, And so that's why it's very funny. But if somebody were to do that to me in real life, I would be beyond humiliated and I would be like, I literally don't want to be here. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Difference with Impractical Jokers where they're doing it for TV and entertainment and they're all getting paid for it. They all agreed, like, yeah, it's going to be some type of ridiculous punishment versus, like, if your friend is just doing that because it's like, oh, like, you don't want to work out with me. Well, I'm going to go ahead and make you compete in this so you feel embarrassed and now you're going to want to work out. And it's like, no, this actually makes me want to go home and fucking cry. Like, oh my gosh, I would just feel horrible. You need to learn your boundaries. And you need to be able to communicate that with others. You need to have friends that respect you, respect your boundaries, and respect others that are also going to be in your life. If you have friends that, like, you say you're, like, close with your siblings or whatever, right? So, like, Natalie and I, my sister. So, let's say I have a friend or whatever, and they say some shit about Natalie. You'll never talk shit about my family. Let me just say that. But yeah, if one of my friends were ever to be like, oh my gosh, like, your sister is, like, weird or something like that, gloves fucking off, okay? Like, I will not tolerate that, okay? And like, my siblings might tolerate that. That's their friends, that's their business. For me, anybody says shit about my siblings, that's it, and so those are my boundaries. Those are my personal, like, you're not gonna do that. And my friends know that as well. And I have all my friends that like get along with my family, because I want my friends and my family to like get along and everything, you know? I want it to be like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like so-and-so's going through a tough time. Let's go ahead and have her here for a bit, you know? And it's like, I don't mind, because I love your friends and my friends love my family. You know what I mean? So it's like, I want everyone to get along and to just be like that. Not everybody's like that, and that's okay. Those are just personal boundaries for me. If it's also like, you know, like my friends are like, oh my gosh, like you're really close to their family, and I get that a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I am, because I absolutely love my family. I think they're the coolest. And they're like, yeah, like that's weird. I'm like, honk honk, you're so fucking funny. Those are really, really big shoes that you're wearing. You're a fucking clown. All right? Like, you're not about to sit here and be like, yeah, your family's weird. No. No. Get the fuck out. You gotta be kidding me. You're so fucking funny. You're so quirky and silly and different, but you can be quirky and silly different somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, you're not about to sit here. Like, I don't know. To me, that is a huge thing, where it's like, if I even had like someone that was a friend or a boyfriend or something like that, and they said some shit like that, out. Like, there's just things that I do not tolerate. Honestly, I feel like I've been setting boundaries within the past 3 years, really. Whenever I, you know, stopped talking to those two guys, one of my like best friends and one like just a guy I was talking to. And I was like, you know what? I need to set boundaries, and it's sad that it took that much of a push in my life, but it was a push that I needed to be like, okay, I need to set boundaries. I need to ensure that like the people that I have in my life will never do something like this to me, because I never want to feel like I am a burden to you. I never want to feel like I am less than you. I never want to feel like I don't belong here. You know what I mean? I want to be the one who gives value. I want to be the one who encourages others. I want others to encourage me. What I want is just a relationship where everybody coexists amazingly and we all love each other. And where no matter what, we're going to be lifting each other up, because that's what we do as friends. That's what I want. And I never want to feel bad about a friendship or about any type of relationship ever again, because that is a horrible feeling. So I worked hard to become the person who's like providing value and everything to others, and then also worked even harder to make sure that others are also doing the same in return. Because if not, then it's like, girl, what? You know, and like, of course it's good to, you know, like give and to receive and everything like that. But you also want to be sure that, you know, people are also pouring into your cup. Also, making friends as an adult, I feel like, is very different than making friends as like a college student or anything like that, you know? Because in college, for me at least, like I said, I'm very extroverted. So like in college, I was just always out and about and, you know, making friends on campus. Someone's sitting alone, I'm gonna go sit with them. Sometimes that's weird to people, and that's okay. You know, if like I'm getting like that you're kind of sketched out by me vibes or whatever, I'll be like, you know, like sit there, talk to you for a second, and then I'm like, okay, you're very uncomfortable with me, so I will leave because I don't want to be like a weird burden or whatever to you, you know? So then I will get up and I will go, you know? And that's another huge thing, is like understanding body language and understanding social cues is kind of huge. I have not like a formula, but like whenever I'm like meeting somebody new or whatever, you know, I am very picky and choosy, obviously, about who I have in my life. So what I do to make friendships, this is my formula. And then to, you know, decide, do I want to continue having them in my life as well? Of course, I have my list of, you know, like expectations, or not expectations, but just like my list of like standards and stuff, you know? So anyway, let's start off with how I make the friend. How do I meet somebody new and become friends with them? Step one, you come up to them in like a public or wherever you are. You just come up to them and you don't compliment them on anything that they have. You compliment something around them, or just mention something that's around them. Say you're at the library or something like that, and you say, oh, excuse me, I just need to grab this book real quick. And they're like, oh, okay, go ahead. And then you grab it, and being that they're in the same area or whatever, you can be like, I've been hearing a lot about this book, but like, I haven't read it yet. Like, I'm actually like kind of excited to read it, but like, have you read it? Like, do you have any recommendations on it? And then they'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I have, or no, I haven't, but I want to. Or if they just say, no, I haven't, and you're like, oh, okay, well, you know, like, you could be like, you know, oh, well, I heard it from like this place or whatever. I don't know if you follow them, but that's where I heard it from. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. leave the conversation. They're not interested, they're not looking for friends, and that's okay, not everybody is. But if they continue to engage in a conversation with you or whatever, then now that's your chance to go ahead and be like, yay, like we can talk and we can be friends and it'll be so fun and everything. But body language is a huge thing. But let's say it's going well. And so like, oh my gosh, like I follow that same person and like I hadn't seen the recommendations. You're like, oh my gosh, yeah, no, they just posted about it like, you know, like last week or something. And I think that is like really, really cool. So yeah, like I've been waiting to see this one on the shelf. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's so fun, blah, blah, blah. And you'd be like, yeah, like I'm really excited to read it. And then be like, okay, well, I'll see you later. Or like, oh, I'll see you around here or something, right? And so then, you know, you both have like a haha, okay, see you later kind of thing. And you walk away. You don't ask for the number, you don't ask for the Snapchat, you don't ask for the Instagram. Please never ask for somebody's Snapchat the very first time you meet them. Do not. If somebody asked for my Snapchat the very first time I saw them, I would literally be like, I actually don't know what technology is. I'm sorry. I walk away. And then later on, if I happen to see them again, then it's like, oh my gosh, funny coincidence. But, you know, you want to stay in the area kind of thing, you know? And so then, you know, like you talk to them again, you know, strike up a little conversation. And then at that point, you can kind of like feel out, you know, like, okay, is this somebody that I want to continue talking to? Is this somebody that I don't want to continue talking to? You know, just kind of like feel it out with like new conversation or whatever. After that, you can ask for their number if they want to hang out, or be like, hey, after this, I'm actually going to go grab coffee at this one place. If you aren't doing anything, join me, you know, like I'll be over here, you know, and then be over there just in case they say yes. And then after that point, you know, you can have more conversation, you can talk, you can feel them out, see if they're, you know, like within your standards of, you know, like friendship or whatever. And then you can ask for their number, or you can ask for whatever. That's just personally how I do it. But if anybody else has any methods of making friends, let me know, because I know it'd be so fun to hear. So that's just my little method. That's that. And that is basically like friendships as an adult. And sometimes they fall apart and you have to learn to let them go. Sometimes they are for years and years and years and years, and it's absolutely amazing. And you want to keep those people in your life. And so you work together to provide something beautiful for each other and for others. And then sometimes they're just there because they're there. And that's okay, because not everybody has to be your best friend. That's another very important thing to remember. Not everybody has to be your best friend. And for me, I'm not a people pleaser. And so one thing that I always tell my sister or whatever, like one of my friends who's very much a people pleaser, is like, not everybody has to like you. And that's a good thing. If everybody liked me, I'm doing something wrong. If everybody's like, oh my gosh, I love Alyssa, I'd be like, okay, clearly I'm doing something wrong, because that means people who, you know, like do XYZ that are very bad things love me. And people who are doing XYZ, which are very good things, also love me. I don't really want them to like me. I want them to be like, oh my gosh, she stands against me and she stands against the Confederate flag. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't want you to like me. You know, like there are going to be some people that you will meet in life, and you do not have to have everybody like you, is basically what I'm saying. And it's a good thing that not everybody's going to like you. You want to be able to have that dictation over your life of who comes in and who doesn't. You know, you can't just have the door open to everybody and everybody's welcome all the time. As nice and as friendly as that sounds, I will be declining. You know, like, no, actually, we're gonna have to pat you down at the door, and we're gonna go ahead and have to ask you a few questions, see if you can get into the club. If you can't get into the club, that's okay. Leave. You know, there's other clubs around, you know? Maybe a club wasn't the best example. I don't know. But there's other book clubs. I just wanted to just kind of like talk on that briefly. And I just thought it was a very like interesting kind of topic, because I think that, like I said, friendships are extremely important. And you want to be sure that you cultivate the right ones in your life. Like I said just earlier, but I'm going to recap. Not everybody has to like you. That's okay. It's okay if people don't like you. It's okay if people do like you. What you have to decide for yourself is, are those people that I want in my life? And are those the people that I want to have my name in their mouth? Like my friends I'm going to be inviting to my Friendsgiving, absolutely. I know whenever they talk about me, it's going to be amazing, loving things. They know whenever I talk about them, it's going to be amazing, loving things. yes, I want my name in their mouth. I don't want my name in the mouth of somebody who is just hanging out with me because they think they can get something, or because they want to talk shit about me later, which actually someone did that. But yeah, I have to choose who I want in my life. And you should choose. You should too. And you need to be picky and you need to be choosy. There's some things in your life where you can't always be picky and choosy or whatever. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, these are the last pair of socks, but I need some socks. All right, then get those socks. It's not like, oh my gosh, this is the last person on earth and I have to be friends with them, even though they are really mean to me. Don't be friends with them. So anyway, to me, I'm very much like, you're either it or you're not. If you're not, go away. If you are, get in, So that's just my 2 cents on friendships, on, friendships as an adult and everything as well. So yeah, that's really all I have to say right now. If anybody has any questions or whatever, any questions, comments, concerns in the comments, please. But yeah, anyway, thanks for joining. I'm going to see if I can actually get this up as like as a little podcast audio. I think that'd be really cool. Just remember, have your boundaries and stick to them. So I'll see y'all later, guys. Goodbye.